Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 2 of Ever Upward Show. I am your host, the Blevins, and of course, this is a New York Excelsior NYXL fan show created by me for you as well as the team. All fans of NYXL and people who just are amazed by the overwhelming dominance and power of NYXL are welcome to listen. And I mean, I guess if you're not, you're still welcome to listen, but this is a very NYXL focused show. It's going to be extremely biased. We're not calling this one down the middle. So let's just jump right into it. If you have not listened to episode 1, you certainly can. It is over at the High Noon Podcast YouTube channel, as well as the feed. This, of course, is a High Noon production, and you can find all of the stuff that we do at High Noon Productions over at highnoonpodcast.com. But that's enough about me and us and what we're doing. Let's talk about what really matters here, and that is NYXL and their week this week. I'm going to go over the stuff that they put out. I'm going to go over some stuff that the community put out, and then talk about the results from last week and preview next week's matchups. And then I've got a couple of listener questions, viewer questions as well that we're going to do at the end. And if you are watching live, if you're in the chat, you can feel free to throw your questions in there and I will get to them at the end of the show. You guys can, of course, always watch us live at twitch.tv/highnoonpodcast. All right. So first thing we got from New York this week was the NYXL Unleashed video for Stage 2, Week 1. This, of course, is a behind-the-scenes look from NYXL. They're always super, super well done, and the video team for NYXL is just top-notch. Honestly, I don't think there's a better crew out there right now creating really, really high quality content. Definitely check out the NYXL YouTube channel if you haven't already. But the video goes behind the scenes for Stage 2, Week 1. I'm imagining that maybe even by the time you hear this, the Week 2 video will be out. Maybe a couple of days after, but definitely take an eye out for that. We also this week got the Jonak Origins video, and I believe we're almost done. I'm trying to think if we even have any more Origins videos left. Jonak might have been the last one. I think we had Mono, we had Janice. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that we're very close to done with the Origins video, so I'm either to have the last couple come out, they might do some staff, to either have the last couple come out or see what they're going to do next with this style of video. They're really, seriously top-notch videos. Check those out. They're definitely, it's very much an origin video, how the players started, where they came from, and all that. The one thing I will say about them is that they're very, it almost seemed like they're almost kind of, almost downtrodden. It seemed like they're not it's real life, and some crazy things happen to people. I'm hoping it's going to kind of be we're going to do a batch of Origins videos, and we're going to do maybe a future looking forward video, and those are going to be a little bit same style, but maybe a little bit different. I don't know. I have no insight into that, but that's just, kind of what I think would be interesting. So definitely check out that. On the OverwatchLeague.com website, the mothership site, if you will, we had an interview, a little piece done on Ark and his relationship with Dream Casper. They're good friends. The title of the article is "Friendship is the Best Ship." Check that one out. It's still a really small little fluff piece, but it's interesting to see how the players from the different teams interact with each other, and even though you're on rival teams, you can still be friends. Definitely an interesting one there. Last couple of things from NYXL. We finally got the NYXL t-shirts, so you can go over to OverwatchLeague.com, find the shirts there. I don't have the price down, but I think they're $25. I unfortunately don't have one yet, but I am definitely looking to get one. It is a gray shirt. It has Excelsior on the front, and I believe it has the logo on the back. Definitely a fan of the t-shirt. Once I get the funds, I will definitely be buying that one. And another piece of merch was released not specifically for NYXL, but for all the teams, the authentic jerseys. So if you're wondering what those are, obviously the first wave, we got just the team jerseys, the home jerseys. Then we got the name jerseys. So we got the ones with the player names on them and numbers. Then we got away jerseys, which are awesome too, player names as well. Now we have authentic jerseys. So the authentic jersey looks from a distance a lot like the regular home jersey. The difference being it's a nicer material. It's basically a higher quality jersey. It is $85 US. I really, really want one. I just don't know if I can justify shelling out the $85 for that one. But it's actually not on the Overwatch League website. Let me just find it. Overwatch, if you Google Overwatch authentic jersey. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Authentic jersey. Because it's on a different website. It is on official player jerseys. I don't know. It's not on the Overwatch League. It's not on the Overwatch League website, but I will. I'll post a link to where you can find them in the description. But if you're looking, if you haven't bought a jersey yet, I would suggest that one, even though it is more expensive than the regular one. The original ones, they're honestly, like, the quality, it's decent, but it's not super great. I was definitely looking for a higher quality one, and they came out with it, so I'm happy about that. I'm just unhappy that they didn't come out with it first. I would have just spent more and got it. But let's move on to the community section. So we're going to talk about the stuff that came out about NYXL or was made about NYXL, but not made by NYXL. So this is from the community. Self-explanatory. We have an article from Invent Global called Overwatch League is NYXL's Land of Opportunity. Goes in detail about NYXL and how they're really doing well, how they did well in stage 1 and what they're looking to do moving forward. And all of the links to all of this content will be in the description, so don't worry about finding it right now. I will get that for you. We had a Reddit thread, an interesting Reddit thread that doesn't really have a lot of information on it, but is something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on and hoping comes out. It was, where can we get NYXL hats or other NYXL hats? So obviously we got this bad boy right here that I'm wearing. It's the official one, NYXL hat from the website. I wear it every day. I love this hat. Definitely get one if you haven't already. But I would love to have some variety for NYXL. Like I'd love like a little pop of color. I'd love one that had like the logo, the pattern all around it. Maybe I'd like one with some blue in it. I think there's a lot of opportunity to make different types of hats. Like, I mean, if you just look at like a Boston Red Sox hat or a New York Yankees hat, like if you go into a Lids or a New Era store in the area, there's dozens of different varieties of hats. So right now, obviously, all we have are really the original, but I mean, the league just started. Definitely keep an eye out for that. All different types of merch. I think season 2, maybe season 3 is going to be where we start. This season is when the teams and the organizations focusing a lot on the team, the players, and the infrastructure there for obvious reasons. And then we're going to be seeing a push once that gets set in a way, or kind of can run itself, or they've got a good backbone for it. I think then we're going to start to see a big push for merch. Maybe that's at the end of this year. Maybe that's season 2 or season 3. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it because I am a sucker for some good merch and some awesome stuff. And I'm hoping that we're going to get some more stuff moving forward. Last couple of things I wanted to talk about here from the community is we got 2 videos from Bad Pachamari. One is Pine is marketable, the other is Jonak is marketable. These videos are they're funny. And it's kind of like if you haven't seen the Bad Patch Amari marketable videos, they're kind of like a mix between a highlight reel and like a meme video. So it's like a little bit of funny, but also like mostly showing the players doing really well, at least for the Pine and Jonak ones. So definitely check those out. Again, links in the description. That is going to bring us to the end of the community section. If you guys have content that either you make or you see a video or an article or something about NYXL, post it on the NYXL subreddit, because I look there all the time. Or you can send it directly to me. You can tweet at the show at EverUpwardShow. You can go to the Heinen Podcast Discord. I have a text channel right there, EverUpwardShow. You can post it there. If you have something that you specifically want to see mentioned on the show, either that you yourself made or something that you saw and you think would be interesting for other people to see, definitely send me that. I don't care if it has 1 million views. I don't care if it has 2 views. If it's NYXL related, I want to showcase it. So definitely send it over. And actually, I would almost prefer that it had 2 views, because I want to get more exposure to that stuff for sure. So keep that in mind as we move forward. We're going to talk about last week's results. The most recent matches, of course, were versus Boston and Houston. And spoiler alert, this week was 4 Overwatch or 0 for watch, 0-4 watch for the opponents of NYXL. We cruised through a couple of notes before we go into the matches. Arc is back. That was a big question, and we'll talk about that in the fan questions as well. But that was a big question going into this week. Is Arc going to play this week? He did not play last week. Lost a really close one to London because of it, and we still won against Florida. But Arc, obviously a big shot caller, and just a big team presence for the team, and mono on support was passable, but as we saw this week, it just was not the same level of dominance as Arc, with Arc getting the player of the match versus Houston. But so Arc is back. He's still injured, and I believe in his post-game interview with Zoe, he mentioned that he's still going to be in the brace. And his arm is still injured for about another week. He guessed. It seemed like he wasn't really sure, or at the very least didn't want to give an exact answer. So, but I mean, even injured, he still played phenomenally, and it's very nice to see that Arc is back. The other note here is that we didn't see Pine. Obviously, the big boss himself is not seeing 100% play. I think that we've kind of figured that out from NYXL, that he's not going to be seeing every map. For, I think at this point it's obvious reasons. He's a specialist. He's a closer in baseball. You don't start your closer. Your pitchers don't pitch 9 innings every game. They he's a specialist. He's going to come in at certain spots. I think we've gotten over that, but we didn't see him at all this week. And even on Ilios, which is, his map, he did mention, I believe it was in a tweet. I don't have the link, but I do remember seeing it. He mentioned he just was not feeling well. Wasn't feeling well this week, so he wanted to take the week off, and clearly we did all right without him. Not to say that we didn't, not to say anything against him, but we were fine without him being in there. I believe he will be in. He'll be back again next week, and at the very least, the silver lining here is that we don't give up our Pine strats on some maps where maybe he will play next week. So, not all bad. And you know what? If the players want a week off, honestly, and we're playing some softer teams, and it's not going to affect our result, take the week off, man. You earned it. You've done enough for us. Now, I mean, that only goes so far, but I'm not upset or anything about a player taking a week off, especially if they're not in the right mental state, if they're not feeling well. Take a week off, get your head back together, get yourself back ready to play so you can be 100% when you're in. I would rather have Pine, especially a player like Pine. I want him to be 100%. If he needs to take time off, give him time off. So Did not need him, though, as we cruise to a 4-0 win against Boston. I mean, really, this one never looked close. Boston themselves not looking so great right now. Stage 1, they looked like a very, very strong team. We were lucky enough to get them early on in the season, or in the stage, where they just did not look good the first couple of weeks. Then they kind of caught their, they got their feet under them, and they started beating teams like London Spitfire. Taking Houston to to 5 maps and being in playoff contention. If a couple of chips dropped a different way, they're in the playoffs for stage 1. They're in the playoffs for stage 1, and they're a very good team. Seems like the beginning of this stage not coming out to the greatest of starts, and you know, I'll take the W here. I think maybe they're going to be back in full form later on in the stage, but maybe not. We did very well against them one way or the other. One clip here, and again, I'm going to have all these links to clips or anything in the description for the video, but the link here, a clip from the broadcast, was this amazing reset of overtime by Sebeobi on Gibraltar, in a point where, like, the casters and really as a fan myself thinking like, oh well, I guess they're just not going to get the full push on Gibraltar here. SBB goes up at the last second, hits the payload, resets overtime, which gives them like literally like the 1.5 or 2 extra seconds that the team needed to come back. They get a pick, Libero Genji blades, and just destroys Boston, and they end up pushing the map, and obviously they ended up winning. Now granted, this was in the 4th map after we were already up 3-0, so it didn't really matter as much, but it was still an amazing play nonetheless. Definitely give that a look-see. And one thing I will note here, because this reminds me, if you guys are watching the matches and you find clips, if there's something awesome that NYXL does and you have a clip, definitely send that over here. I'd love to feature and talk about the clips. I'm obviously watching all the VODs and watching the games mostly live, but I sometimes have to watch on mobile. The clipping is not always the best, so if you guys do have clips or you come across clips of NYXL, definitely ship them over to me and to the show so that I can get them on here, or you can post them. I mean, definitely post them on the NYXL subreddit. That's Reddit. It is NYXL has its own subreddit, but definitely all in all, a very good performance and a good showing against Boston in a matchup that very easily, I mean, I'm waiting any one of these weeks, Boston could come back and just turn right back on. So I'm glad that we got it out of the way and we got our 4-0 out of it, because it honestly, like, I was not as confident as everyone else was, mostly because A, wasn't sure if Arc was going to be back. Luckily he was, and B, I still have not lost complete faith in Boston. So let's move on here, and this was the big one here. For those of you who are fans of High Noon Podcast, you know that myself and co-host Deathblow, I'm the NYXL half of this rivalry. He is the Houston Outlaws half. So this was rivalry week for us, and I think everyone had this one billed as being very close. Houston has been has been very little short of dominant up until this week. They lost an extremely close match to Philadelphia earlier in the week that easily could have swayed one way or the other. I think Philly has come out and shown themselves as a really amazing team as well, and I expected no less out of Houston this week. We did, however, see it really not be that close. Two of the 4 maps that were played were just absolute dominance by NYXL. Map 1, I mean, we saw Clockwork, who it seems that Houston is rolling out on their 2 CP maps, and it's just like Clockwork versus SBB. Let's be serious right now. That's not going to matter. People are going to try to blame Clockwork, and it's like, did he do well? No. But did anyone do well that map? Absolutely not. I don't think you can blame Clockwork there. I don't think you can really blame any of the players there. NYXL was just absolutely dominant. in that match, and in the match. They did show a couple of different things. Again, like I mentioned before, no Pine, and we did see Arc. Arc had an amazing match here. Played a lot of Ana, which was really, his Ana was just on point. And he actually talked about in the post-game interview with Zoe about how he wasn't, you know, he felt a lot of pressure to do well because, and as we saw here, Sebayobi was playing a different style of tracer. Normally he's a lockdown type of tracer, and by that I mean he's going to go find the other team's tracer. He's going to 1v1 them. He's the best tracer in the world, so he's going to win that 1v1, and from there that frees up your support players to be able to have free reign, because you know, when the enemy team doesn't have their tracer pestering your Zenyatas, pestering your Anas, pestering your Lucios, or in the previous meta pestering your Mercy, when they can have free reign, they can excel. And it basically makes it so Sebayobi takes out the enemy team's tracer. So then that battle's done, or at least it's away from the supports. That means that the other team's support also has free reign here. So it's going to be free reign of the other team's support line versus free reign of our support line. And guess who we have on our team? Jonak. Absolutely unstoppable. I'm taking him 1v1. I'm just taking him over any support. I'm almost taking him over any player in the league just as a person to build around. I mean, Jonak absolutely dominant. So the philosophy of SBB going and countering out the tracer leaves Arc and Jonak available. That was the stage one philosophy essentially throughout the whole stage as a whole. Obviously there was some differences on certain maps, etc. Now we move into stage two. Sebayobi is not really playing that lockdown tracer. He's actually going and being more offensive. He's going after the enemy support line. So that means that there's going to be openings in other places. Libero is going to be able to open up potentially. Pine, if he's in, is going to be able to open up potentially and do better. But the Jonak and Arc line is going to be pressured more by the enemy team's tracer, because guess what? Sebayobi's not playing the lockdown. He's going in and making you play defense. So long story short here, this new style or maybe different style of play here by Sebayobi is going to put a little bit of added pressure on Jonak and Arc, which Arc mentioned in his post-game interview. I mean, they excelled. That's the beauty of Jonak and Arc, and that's the beauty of NYXL. It is absolutely not the Sebayobi show. It is absolutely not the Jonak show. To an extent, it kind of is, but and it is absolutely not the Pine show. It's absolutely not the Meko show. It's absolutely not the Arc show. Guess what? It's all of their show, because they are all absolutely amazing. They just are. So if the pressure gauge needs to be adjusted a little bit, you can open up spots. If SBB wants to go after the enemy supports, it's going to add a little bit of pressure here, but it's going to take pressure off somewhere else. So even I'm hoping here, I don't think anyone was ready for this. I think if you go in, you look at the tape, it's like, okay, SBB versus Clockwork. Okay, we're going to work that out. We're going to lose that battle. Let's adjust to that. Guess what? Didn't happen. That's just not the fights he was taking. So I don't think anyone was ready for it. Now you can be, but I think it's even more powerful a strategy to have both of those options. Is SBB, like, not only it's like, okay, you can plan for a map. It's like, okay, they're going to run tracer here. We know what they're going to do. Well, now SBB might be playing a completely different type of tracer. You know he's going to be playing tracer, maybe Widowmaker in some cases, but most of the time he's going to be playing tracer. But now you don't even know what type of tracer, what style of tracer he's going to be playing. And that just, without even changing a hero, without even changing a player, you're getting a completely different game strategy, and that is extremely powerful. And I think that was a conscientious decision made by NYXL, made by SBB, to counteract and have a little more play when we inevitably play against London Spitfire again in the stage playoffs, because London is so good. London is so good at counterplay. Even when they were the GC Busan roster in Apex, GC Busan on paper was not as good as Lunatic High by many standards. They end up beating them in Apex because they just they game planned for them. They were able to shut down what Lunatic High was doing, and even as a quote unquote less skilled team, they were able to take them down with strategy and well executed planning. And I think NYXL showing versatility is just so powerful, and I think it's so powerful for the league as well, because I think that we're going to start seeing a lot more of this varied type of play moving throughout the league. But one last thing here, well, a couple of things. One thing I want to talk about is there was a clip from this map that I want to talk about, and it's the Libero on Kings Row playing Hanzo, and his Hanzo is known from Apex as being one of the best Hanzos, but this play on Kings Row and his play on Kings Row was absolutely dominant, and it was really great. Honestly, it inspired me to play a little bit more Hanzo, especially on Kings Row. It was a really good pick, and the double sniper comp right off the bat was extremely powerful for NYXL in that map. That map was one of the close ones, but NYXL did end up taking that in the end, in no short part due to Libero's dominance on Hanzo. But that is going to be it for the match results for this week, or for last week rather. Let me know what you thought about this section. Do you think there was maybe too much analysis, not enough analysis? Should I have gone a little bit more into detail on certain things, less detail on certain things? Let me know. I'm really just kind of doing this off the cuff here, and getting my analysis, prepared. And I want this goes back to my initial point of I want to make this the show that you guys want to listen to, that is going to best portray and best summarize the week for NYXL. So let me know what you thought about it, and any and all feedback is greatly appreciated. Well, let's move on and talk about this week's matches. I'm gonna obviously not go into as great of detail here, but we are playing against Philadelphia Fusion and San Francisco Shock. So first match against the Fusion. This one's going to be tough here. Philadelphia did get dominated by London, but we have seen this happen before, where Philly looks bad one week and looks absolutely godlike the next week. And we saw in stage one, Philly was one of the only losses for us. And there's a lot of uncertainty with Philly perhaps, but there's a lot of things that could go really well for them too. EQO coming out of nowhere in week one of stage two and just being dominant, definitely a factor. He didn't play last week because he was, quote, sick. Whether or not that was the case or not, don't know, take it with a grain of salt, but he did not play last week. He could certainly play this week, and we don't have a lot of film on him. So, and he plays a very different style of DPS than Shadowburn does. So almost the same type of play that I was talking about with SBB himself, changing up his play. They have the variety across two different players. In no way is that a shot at them or a discount of what they can do. It is merely showing that they have the ability to flex their players even if they're using the same hero. So Philly is absolutely not one that you can take lightly. NYXL needs to come out, and they need to be strong here, and they need to be strong the entire time. If Philly comes out strong, we just I believe, and I've talked about this on other shows, there's good Philly and there's bad Philly. If bad Philly shows up, okay, we're going to dominate this 4-0. Not a problem. But if good Philly shows up, it is going to be a grind, and we need to be prepared for that. And hopefully we can shut them down early, because Philly, although they did have the reverse sweep against Houston, they generally will show their hand early and not mix it up. Could be different here for stage two, so definitely absolutely do not want to take them lightly. But I am expecting a victory here. I would call it probably a 3-1. Maybe, if good Philly shows up, a 3-2 in favor of New York. But it could be as bad as a 4-0 for Philly. But I do think it's going to be a W one way or the other. I think at full staff, NYXL is the best team in the league by a considerable margin. And at full staff with good Philly and everything running well for Philly. I do think they're a playoff team. I think they might even be a top 5 team, but they're not at the level that NYXL is. So definitely a very winnable situation for NYXL this week against Philadelphia Fusion. The last match of the week for NYXL here is against the San Francisco Shock, which really the only interesting thing about this match is that San Francisco Shock is the one team that New York did not play against in Stage 1. So we've never actually played against each other. So what does that mean? Well, I think what that means is that they've probably scrimmed against each other a lot. I know a lot of teams were basically having scrim partners with the team that they weren't going to be playing against in Stage 1. So I think maybe they do know each other. Maybe they know each other's strategies a little bit better than some of the other teams. And I think that's probably the only thing that San Francisco has going for them. And that's only possibly. I don't know if this actually happened or not. I'm just saying, like, it's a possibility considering the circumstances. I really don't think San Francisco has a shot here. I would call, if I was betting on it, which I guess I kind of am with the pick'ems and whatnot, I'm picking a New York 4-0 here. However, that does not, and I mean, this almost goes without saying, but I feel like I have to say it to like kind of unjinx everything. So I feel like I'm going to jinx it. Don't take them lightly. San Francisco is definitely a team that can perform. Now, they've not really shown it against any of the top teams. They really have not been able to take down any top teams. But I really don't want New York to be the first. I really don't want to have to talk about. I really don't want to have to talk next week about how we lost to San Francisco because we underestimated them. Just do your game plan, be prepared for them, and dominate like you should. Is basically all I've got for that. But let's move right along to the last section of the show, and that's going to be the fan questions. Again, guys, if you ever have questions that you'd like to see read on the show, or you'd like just to have me answer, 2 ways to do it. I guess 3 ways. You can email everupwardshow@gmail.com. You can go to the High Noon Podcast Discord, which is discord.me/highnoonpodcast. Go over to the Ever Upward Show text channel. Throw them in there. That's where I got these questions from. Or you can tweet at EverUpwardShow on Twitter. Or, I mean, you can come watch live, twitch.tv/highnoonpodcast. But I'm going to take one last quick look to see if we got any other new ones. If you are watching live right now, you can throw your questions in now. No new ones from Discord, but we did get a couple earlier in the week. So let's start out here. We had Spliso Maze ask, when, if ever, will I be visiting LA to watch some Overwatch League? It would be amazing if you could do some interviews with the team or staff, or even a mega fan. Is there any way to know when Arc will be back? I'm a little worried if he'll be back for the Outlaws game. What is your opinion of Mono on support? Is there a long-term backup plan on the team? Great comments and questions. I guess that was kind of a little bit of both. So first question, when if ever will I be coming out to LA for some Overwatch League? There's definitely 90% chance that I'm going to be out for the playoffs, for the season playoffs. I absolutely would like to be out there for the season playoffs. That's just something I absolutely do want to do. And if/when I do get out there, I will be doing as many interviews with team and staff and players and all that stuff as I can. And if there's mega fans out there, absolutely I will be doing that as well. In the vein of mega fans, I don't have the exact details yet. I tried to see if we could get some more confirmation, but the details are not out yet. But the short of it is that I am going to be in New York City for a watch party / event some point in the near future. I'll get more details on that. And when I'm there, I'm going to try to get as much content as possible. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do, but I'm going to try to get as much, and I'll definitely be talking about it for sure on an episode. You asked, do we know when Arc will be back? Well, we already had that answered. He came back last week. I tried to get that. Answered beforehand in the Reddit AMA, but he gave very vague answers. A little worried that if he will be back for the Outlaws game. Yeah, he was back, and he did really, really well. Ended up being the player of the week. My opinion on Mono on support. I talked about it a little bit, but I'll go into a little more detail. He was fine on support. I'm guessing he was probably the best option that they had. And we saw Libero play support in the preseason before Jonak was eligible to play because of age. And it was underwhelming, honestly. No dig on Libero, but it's just not his strong suit. I think we had some leaks. Nothing confirmed officially, but we had leaks about oh gosh, I don't remember who it was, but it was a player from Apex. Oh god, I'm gonna look like an idiot now. Let me see if I can find it. But there was a player from Apex who was leaked to have been signed by NYXL or in talks with NYXL. Nothing's been confirmed yet, and I honestly haven't heard anything about it since. Let's see if it's on. Nope, that's not it. I'm gonna look for one more second here. Yeah, no. Okay, so nothing official, and I can't even find what the leak was or the rumor was. But basically, the long story short is a Korean player that has played in Apex was rumored to be picked up by NYXL. I think that would be a really great option. If we need to play something that's, if the triple support ever happened, maybe he could play it. But more likely, if something happens where they want two main supports, like a Lucio and a Mercy for some reason, and Jonak played like a DPS, I don't know. But more versatility, I think, is going to be great. Getting closer to 12 players so you can do internal scrims is going to be great, and having a backup in case someone gets hurt is going to be great. I think that's the long-term plan for them. Hopefully I can get some more info on that, or maybe we'll get more info on it moving forward. So I'll keep you updated on that. And I apologize for not having it off the top of my head. And then the last question we had was from Shawnee and Jones, who asked, is there ever a good reason to take Mono off tank and put him on support when you have Libero? I think Mono is just better than Janus. To take Mono off of tank. Okay. I don't think so. Okay, so I do think so here. For the reason I talked about earlier, Libero is more effective when he's on. I think the team, when you have Libero on DPS and Mono on support and Janus Meko on tank, is more effective than if you had Mono Meko on tank, Libero Jonak on support. I think that, I'm assuming that that's the case because that's the call that NYXL made. They could have easily gone the other way. Granted, you could have Libero on support and Pine SBB on DPS. I don't know, but I'm going to, for now, until we get more confirmation, and this is definitely a good question to put to the staff potentially when I get a chance to talk to them. If when I get a chance to talk to them, will definitely be a good question to put to them, because I think it is interesting to see how they might swap it up, should things change. But and as for Mono better than Janus, I think they just play a different style of main tank. I think I find myself thinking the same thing, but I also realize that Janus plays a very aggressive style of tank that can work and give you very big plays, but also looks bad when it's not working effectively. I don't think he's necessarily better or worse than Mono. I think that they just play differently, and the difference in style leads you to think that Janus is worse when it's not working, where if Mono's style isn't working, it doesn't look as bad, but it still is just as bad. I think they're very close, to say the least, and I think that having both is definitely effective. It is tough to see Janus go in there and dive in as Winston and die over and over again. It feels like he's feeding. It feels like that. Don't get me. I feel the same exact thing. Don't get me wrong here, but I think if we took a closer look at it, I think if we took a closer, more finer look at it, that we would realize that they're actually very similar in terms of level of play, just not style of play. Hope that answers your guys' questions. That's going to be it for the show. I've mentioned where you guys can follow me and get in touch with the show ad nauseum, so I'm going to try to keep it concise. 2 things though. First one being, please, follow the show in all the places, and please, I'm truly honest here, good, bad, or otherwise, please give any feedback that you have. It is extremely helpful. Leave a comment on the YouTube video. Send me a tweet. Send me a message on Discord. Send me an email. All that stuff is extremely helpful, and it's only going to make the show better. And I'd love to have, the fans of this show and the fans of NYXL shape the fan show for NYXL. I don't want it. I mean, I don't mind if it's all me and you're not expected to do anything, but I would love it. I think it's just going to be a better show if we can get as much involvement as possible. So, if you are a fan of it, please leave some feedback. And if you know people who are fans who haven't heard the show before, please, ship it around. I want to get as many eyes and ears on this as possible for the sake of NY XL and the league itself. So I hope you guys liked it. Again, you can find everything that High Noon Productions does over at highnoonpodcast.com. You can follow the show on Twitter over at EverUpwardShow on Twitter. You can email us everupwardshow@gmail.com, and you can always go to the High Noon Podcast Discord and hit the Ever Upward text channel. That's discord.me/High Noon Podcast. Again, that's going to be it, guys, for this week. I'm going to be recording another episode just like this next week, probably either Sunday or Monday. Have not figured out an exact schedule for it yet, but keep an eye and an ear out for that. But until next week, guys, have a good one and go NYXL. Woo!